So the idea of perpetual issues comes out of the research. The statistic that tends to go with that is that 69% of the things that a couple will argue about or have conflict about is going to be perpetual versus solvable. And so what that means is that it's not really something that has a clear-cut solution. So an example might be one person is more introverted, the other person is more extroverted, and that creates certain challenges in their relationship dynamic in terms of maybe how they spend their time or how they'd like to spend their time. One person would like to spend more time in, the other person maybe wants to go out more. That's a perpetual issue because it's rooted in more of character structure and how that's different between two people. So it's not like what color should we paint this room, we figure it out eventually, and then we move on. It's something that you're constantly going to have to manage and figure out over the course of the relationship. So perpetual issues, the idea is to identify first that, okay, this is one of our perpetual issues, and then to figure out what are the ways that we can best manage this. And so we use the word manage versus resolve because in many cases, it's not something that's just going to go away.
Yes, hence perpetual. Yeah,
so
right.
When would you say is it time to end a relationship if it seems like maybe you can't solve the perpetual issues, or when is it a big enough issue that you think maybe the relationship should just come to an end?
Yeah, the perpetual issue is something you just don't want to live with for the rest of your life, I guess.
Well, you just said it. It's when you find out that the perpetual issue is around something that you have as a non-negotiable. So if it's something that you decide, I cannot live with this, or this violates a core value of mine, or it's something that goes against, what I'm trying to build my life around, then that might be a sign that it's time to end a relationship, because at that point you're at a pretty strong gridlock.
What's a really good tool to sort out what are perpetual issues and what are solvable issues?
It's a great question. And that's why I like the 7 Principles book, because it really goes into detail about that stuff. But in the therapy room, when I'm with couples, what we often do is we'll break things down into, kind of looking at what are the common themes in the conflicts that they're having. And oftentimes couples come into therapy over a perpetual issue. It's not usually a solvable issue. So often it's not coming in because, we don't know what school to send the kids to, so we're fighting about that. I mean, maybe that happens sometimes, but more often than not, it's about perpetual issues. They tend to kind of cluster around things that are more stable over time. So, and the things that they cluster around are the significant differences between two people. So if there's really stark differences between how you spend money, and one person spends very differently than the other, that's likely to be a perpetual issue in the relationship. Or if sexuality is certainly one that I see a lot, where there's desire discrepancies, people who, each partner wants something a little bit different, and it's hard to figure out how to navigate that. That's probably one of the most common issues that I see. And the tricky part of it is, that there's not likely to be one solution or one way to manage it that's going to perfectly satisfy each person. And that's where it gets really challenging. And so couples often have to, kind of navigate what they're willing to compromise on, and or what and how often, and kind of revisiting some of these things along the way. Sometimes what we negotiate at one moment in time is going to change, and we need to renegotiate it at another time.